Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the ISGEC Q3 FY21 earnings conference call hosted by ICICI Securities. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ranjit Shivram from ICICI Securities. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tanvi. Good afternoon, all. On behalf of ICICI Securities, I welcome you all for the third quarter FY21 earnings call of ISGEC. We have with us the management of ISGEC represented by Mr. Aditya Puri, the Managing Director, Mr. S.K. Khurana, Executive Director and Company Secretary, and Mr. Kishore Chapnani, who is the CFO. So we will start with a brief update on the results by Mr. Puri, followed by Q&A. Over to you, sir.
Shall I start?
Yes.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on our earnings conference call. I hope that you and your loved ones are all well and safe. This is our 5th investor conference. I hope you are finding our interactions useful. I look forward to a fruitful discussion. We also uploaded a presentation on BSE and our website earlier today. Many of you are familiar with our business. For the benefit of the new investors and analysts joining for the first time, I will give a brief introduction about our business. We are a diversified heavy engineering company engaged in manufacturing and project businesses. We manufacture process plant equipment, presses, and iron and steel castings. We execute turnkey projects for setting up boilers, power plants, sugar plants, distilleries, factories, and bulk material handling facilities. We've also developed strengths in construction. We address the requirements of a wide spectrum of industries, namely power, fertilizer, sugar and distilleries, oil and gas, automobile components, steel, cement, chemicals, railways, space, and ports. We are number 1 or number 2 in almost all our product lines in the country. Our presence across multiple industries and geographies helps us to spread any sectoral or geographical risk. Let me now talk about our consolidated financial results for the quarter. We are happy that operations and revenue have largely recovered, though there is some shortfall in revenues in this quarter as well. The consolidated revenue for Q3 of FY21 is rupees 1423 crores compared to rupees 1715 crores for Q3 of FY20. That is a decrease of 17%. For 9 months of FY21, our consolidated revenue is rupees 3850 crores compared to rupees 4354 crores for 9 months of FY20. That is a decrease of about 12%. The consolidated EBITDA for Q3 of FY21 is at rupees 132 crores. That is 8% higher compared to rupees 122 crores for Q3 of 2020. For 9 months of FY21, our consolidated EBITDA is at rupees 375 crores. That is 31% higher compared to 286 crores for 9 months of FY20. The 9-month EBITDA margin improved by 311 basis points, driven by savings in legal expenses, saving in employee costs, and reduction in travel expenses due to lockdown, and increased efficiency, including use of technology solutions in ISGEC Heavy Engineering Limited, and because of higher sales and profitability in Saraswati Sugar Mills. The consolidated profit after tax for Q3 of 2021 is at rupees 65 crores that is 3% higher than the rupees 63 crores of Q3 of 2020. For 9 months of FY21, our consolidated profit after tax is rupees 184 crores, which is 35% higher than the profit after tax of rupees 136 crores for 9 months of FY20. I will now talk about the order booking. The consolidated order booking for 9 months of FY21 is rupees 1467 crores. The orders in hand as on 31st December 2020 are rupees 6,863 crores, against rupees 6,935 crores as of 31st March 2020. The order book position continues to be good. Of our consolidated order book, about 78% is for the project business and 22% is for the product business. The order book includes rupees 1080 worth of export orders, which is about 15% of our total order book. The order book includes ISGEC Hitachi Zosen, which has orders in hand of about rupees 550 crores. During this quarter, we had more orders from the private sector than from the PSU sector. The inquiry level from both PSU and private sectors is good. Overall, demand trends are encouraging. Many new orders from sectors such as railways, coal, power, water, process industries, and material handling are expected to be finalized. In addition, orders for air pollution control equipment and FGD, which are mandated for compliance with environmental norms, are also expected to be finalized. All our factories are working at good capacity utilization and there are no labor issues. Project sites are running normally and there are no supply or logistics or manpower difficulties now. Offices are now working with 70% workforce and the rest of the people are working from their homes. In the wake of COVID-19 related disruptions, the company had imposed a salary cut from April onwards for all employees drawing annual compensation above rupees 8 lakhs. In November 2020, we had restored the salaries of junior employees at levels up to levels of manager and below. From the 1st of January, we have restored the salaries of all the employees. The managing director and the whole-time director have taken a cut in compensation by 75%. Due to COVID-19, the economic activities in some of our overseas markets have been disrupted and order finalization is slow, though we have a large number of inquiries from our target countries. Overall, we are optimistic about our positioning in the market, and with our presence in multi-segments and geographies, robust balance sheet, state-of-the-art infra and manufacturing capabilities, technology partnerships, and right use of the right quality of people, we will continue to focus on increasing our shareholders' wealth and strengthen our financial metrics. In view of the good profitability, the board has decided to declare an interim dividend of rupees 2 per share. This will result in a dividend payout of rupees 14.7 crores. Our efforts to sell CBPI Philippines and related companies have been continuing. However, discussions have been slow since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are continuing to look for buyers and also keeping the option of completing and running the plant before a buyer is found, and the economics of running the plant seem favorable. I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to withdraw yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. First question is from the line of Deepika Gupta from Equitas Investment. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, sir. Congratulations on a great set of numbers. So I wanted to know, how does the increase in raw material cost impact our manufacturing business as well as our EPC business on private PSU as well as export orders?
So I suppose you're mainly talking about the commodity price increase,
yes,
right? The steel, copper, aluminium,
yes,
nickel. Yeah. So as far as our orders with the PSU, which today are about 50% of our orders, we are covered by the escalation clause. So that should be okay. In the rest of the orders, we did see some increase in steel costs, but we have contingencies. We always keep contingencies, and we think that we'll be covered by those contingencies. Further, steel is now on a slight declining trend, and in our new orders, we are factoring the increase in commodity pricing. So there'll be an impact, but it will be very, very minor.
Okay. And what about the impact of increase in freight rates, and are we facing any unavailability or shortage of any parts in execution of our orders?
So domestic logistics is not a problem. From time to time, there were some problems in some containers for export, availability of containers for export. Southeast Asia, there was no problem. But Central America and Africa, there was a bit of a problem, but things are easing out. There is not a major problem. Shipments may get delayed by a week or so or 10 days, but it's not a major problem.
So basically, none of these factors are hampering our execution.
They're not on a day-to-day basis. It's a little tedious, but no, not over a long period of time. And for the export orders, many times, or in most cases, the freight is in the buyer's scope.
Okay. Also, manufacturing revenues, although they have recovered and they're better than Q2 also, do we see them back to pre-COVID levels sooner?
Yeah, very soon. Very soon. They would be back.
Okay, and what about EPC execution? It was down just 5%, but in the past we've also executed, higher amount of sales for EPC division.
So do you know what happened was that in this Q3, particularly around Diwali time, again there was a spurt of COVID. At least our company felt that, and in a lot of sites we did face a disruption. But work is now back to normal and is going in full swing. So I can confidently say that work at the sites, EPC sites, is back to normal.
Okay, and could you give us, like, the power order book is 2,000 crores, or it's 32% of my total order book. So what are the FGD orders to be, or what amount of FGD orders we can look for execution in FY22?
Kishore, can you give the figure?
Ritika, as you know, we follow the percentage completion method.
Yeah.
So we expect to book 450 crores in the next financial year.
No, she's saying how much revenue would come from FGD.
That's exactly what I'm saying, sir. 450 crores is the revenue expected to be booked in the next financial year, in 2022.
Okay. Also, in your opening remarks, you mentioned that material handling is an opportunity where you see orders coming from. Like, what kind of EPC orders you see in that segment?
So we are already doing material handling for Mahagenco in Maharashtra and for some other companies. Okay. So we do see a demand increasing in steel, aluminium, power, and all these require material handling projects.
Okay, and I believe Hitachi and Eagle did not contribute much to my bottom line in Q3. If you could give us their performance separately and what is the outlook for them? I know Hitachi has a good order book, but...
So do you know, the Hitachi's also, the orders, the order book is good, but the number of orders in numerical terms are low. I mean, they're not low in... we are not uncomfortable with the low orders, but the mix is such that we have fewer number of larger value orders. So there was hardly any turnover of Hitachi's Ocean in this quarter because hardly anything was shipped out this quarter. But we think the year will still be good.
Okay. And what about the outlook for Hitachi for FY22? Do we see sufficient execution there? And like, if we could quantify that?
It should be fine. It should be fine. We are not seeing any. As I said in my opening remarks, we have 550 crores of orders, so it should be fine.
So, what is the time frame for execution of these orders?
Could be anything from 10 months to 18 months.
Okay, and this also has a price variation clause?
This does not have a price. In most cases, no, it doesn't have a price variation clause.
Okay. What about Eagle Press?
So Eagle Press, there is a slowdown in the there because of the COVID situation, both in US and Canada. Yeah. But we will still be at least EBITDA positive. We will be hopefully by the end of the year. Even now we are, but at the end of the year also. And but you know, the COVID intensity is now reducing, and order booking is beginning to start again. So the prospect is okay. In the short run, there may be a little bit of a blip, but otherwise it's okay.
Okay, and could we have the revenues for Hitachi and Eagle for Q3 and 9 months?
So Eagle itself is a very small company. We do not expect it to contribute significantly to the bottom line of our company or to the sales turnover. We are expecting a turnover at its peak. When it was not under our control, it had done probably about 180 crores or 200 crores. But as far as Hitachi Zosen is concerned, Kishore, would you like to give the turnover?
So this quarter, Ritika, your question is about this quarter?
Yes.
This quarter, Hitachi Zosen had 27 crores turnover.
Yeah.
And Eagle had 35 crores turnover.
Okay.
So they are pretty small, as Mr. Puri said. They are pretty small in our scheme of things for the moment. Eagle is small. Hitachi will be good for the year.
Okay. And our sugar business did really well. When is our distillery going to be coming on stream? And yeah.
So it will be ready by May, and then certain statutory approvals are required.
Okay.
That may take a little while, but it will be ready by May.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manish Goyal from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on good set of numbers, sir. Sir, continuing on the sugar distillery, so you said plant would be ready in May, but ideally by what time should we start the commercial production, and what kind of revenues we can expect from the distillery, sir?
So we can start commercial production maybe 30 to 60, maybe 60 days after the plant is completed. It could be earlier, it could be slightly later, but I'm just giving you a ballpark figure, maybe 10, 15 days here or there. And the revenues, Kishore, Kishore, can you just throw light on that? About 170 crores, I think.
Yes, that's right. I mean, if we're talking about 12 months, we should be doing something like 160 to 170 crores.
But in the first year, it will be lower. It will be lower, but that's the capacity. Yeah.
The capacity is how much? 110 kiloliters per day?
KLPD, yeah.
Capacity is 100 kiloliters per day. If you run on C heavy molasses, of course, the capacity it turns out to be higher if you run on B heavy molasses.
Sure, sir. And sir, you did mention that on Eagle Press will be EBITDA positive, but at the bottom line, I believe the losses are very high. In fact, last year also Eagle Press losses were relatively high. So what kind of order book we have over there, and can we expect it to turn around next year at the PAT level, sir?
So this year is going to be much better than last year. It's going to be much better than last year, and we expect next year to be positive at the profit level. Yeah.
And sir, Hitachi, sir?
Hitachi is positive. Hitachi was negative only this quarter because of the very low billing, and that's because I explained. It's got lumpy orders.
Sure, sir. And sir, on caveat biofuel, has the process started in terms of looking for buyers, or still the COVID is impacting the process for the buyers?
Yeah, so that is impacting. COVID is impacting. We are also not able to go from here. The flights opened only for 3 or 4 days, and then Philippines is one of those countries where it's totally closed. It's not like other countries where you can go. So that is impacting. There is interest, and as I said in my opening remarks, there is interest from people to purchase, but right now we are not able to effectively market it. And But we might think of completing the distillery and running it also because the numbers seem good.
Okay. So in that case, sir, we would be requiring to complete the pending work, and if that is the case, by when do you think you should be able to start running the distillery?
So after we take a decision, and we hope to take the decision in a little while, it will take about 12 months.
Okay. And sir, just wanted a housekeeping question on sugar business. What was the subsidy which we received in this quarter and also in last 2 quarters in the sugar business?
So do you know the central government is giving subsidies for buffer stock? I don't know if you probably understand buffer stock, right? So the government says that you store a certain amount of sugar in your godown, and you cannot sell out of it, and it pays for the interest, storage, and insurance of that sugar. So it is this buffer stock subsidy. Then the government is giving subsidy on the export of sugar. So there is that subsidy, and then there is a subsidy by the state government on cane price.
Yeah. So would it be possible to share that number, sir, please?
For this quarter, you're talking in terms of accounting or cash flow?
No, like in our P&L, what we have reported.
This quarter, we received 29 crores 3 lakhs.
29 crores. And is it shown under other income or it is part of the total?
It's shown under other income.
And was it a similar case in Q2 and Q1 also, sir?
No, because in fact, you'll see when we publish the balance sheet, there is a process to be followed about what can go into operating income and what into other income, as agreed with the auditors and of course as per the accounting standards. So things, subsidies which accrue during the season, for example, cane subsidy, that can be deducted from the cane cost. And if subsidies are accrued after the season, then they have to be, or if the sugar exported is of previous season, and we are exporting this season, this year, so therefore it comes into other income.
Okay. So Mr. Kishore, for 9 months, how much would be the total subsidy amount, sir?
Maybe I'll have to look for it. I don't have it in front of me, but give me 2 or 3 minutes. I'll certainly.
No problem.
I'll answer it in a few minutes.
And last housekeeping question on. Okay, sorry, I have 2 more questions. So this decline in other expense on consolidated is roughly 25% on YOY, and 9 months it is 30% decline. So how much of it is this attributable to, say, we are not incurring any legal expenses on the caveat legal case, and how much of it is something which is sustainable, which we would have cut, and we see this as a sustainable, sir?
Kishore?
Please go ahead, Mr. Khana.
Manish, it is likely, you see, one is the traveling, the other is legal. Traveling is not there because of COVID. We may sustain it long run or not, but so far it has been sustained to a large extent.
Let me add to what Mr. Khurana said, Manish. So legal expenses last year were about 45 crores. So this year there is no legal expense. Right?
So the 45 crores was in 9 months last year, sir?
Actually, it happened, all of it in the first 6 months only. So yes, it's included in the 9 months.
And this year, how much it is, sir?
No, but let me just answer. This year there's no legal expense. It's minor, 1 crore or something like that. So just let me talk about what comes in other expenses. What heads come in other expenses.
Yeah.
So there's power and fuel. There is other manufacturing expenses, which is largely, subcontracting in the factory. There's repair and maintenance. There is electricity and water charges. Then packing, forwarding, and transportation, which is a big expense. And packing, forwarding expense, because exports is lower this year, packing, forwarding is much lower.
Okay.
Then there is then as you said, the legal expenses are lower. So there are 2 or 3 things which are contributing to really the lower other expenses. One, as you rightly pointed out, is legal expense.
Yeah.
Second is less subcontracting outside because manufacturing is less, so less subcontracting outside. Thirdly, lower traveling expenses. And lastly, actually it's a bigger number, lower packing, forwarding, and transportation expense.
Okay. And last question, sir, on the pipeline, you did mention we see encouraging trends. I missed out so if you can just highlight as to how is the pipeline, and if there is that a number of order pipeline value, how much it is, and how good it is if we compare it with last year, sir, broadly.
No, so the pipeline is very large. The pipeline is very large. And as I said, in the last quarter, private sector had also started investing. So the pipeline is large both from the PSU sector and from the private sector. And therefore, we are confident about order booking. We're also confident that the budget laid a lot of stress on infrastructure, railways. We should get our share of business from there. Also, steel and aluminium, with commodity prices going up, we think aluminium already there are some projects that have been announced. Steel also, we think investments will come in, and so all this is good news for us.
Okay. And I would also like to know, on the distillery side, the government had come out with an incentive scheme, and I believe a lot of distilleries licenses have been given. So have orders started on the distillery side? If you can just throw some light on that.
Yes, they have started. We have shaken hands for 1 or 2 orders, but they haven't formally come, so we are not. We don't count them.
But can it be a very large opportunity, say, in the coming years, sir, for us?
So it depends on how many distilleries actually come up, how many distilleries are able to make finance arrangements. So if a lot of distilleries do come up, it could be good business for us.
Fine, sir. I'll come back in the queue. Thank you so much for all the answers, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next person is on the line of Priti Jain from Sundaram Mutual Fund. Please go ahead. Priti Jain, your line
Hello?
is
Hello?
question.
Hello?
Yeah.
Sir, my first of all, congratulations for best ever operating profit, sir. Very good to see. Third consecutive quarter, you have delivered a very strong performance in the current year. My first question is with regard to our guidance for next year, sir. Any rough guidance you have planned for next year, sir?
I think it's too early to say, but things look good.
Okay. Sir, currently we have done like 8% operating margin on the blended basis. Do you think we can sustain this margin?
Sure, I think you have to take this question. Yeah.
I think if we talk about blended, as you are saying, or including the project business and the manufacturing business,
yes, sir.
We should look at sustaining around 7.5%.
Okay. Okay, sir. So in terms of order flow, we have announced few orders on the exchange also. So should we expect the exit order book to be around 7,000 crores, or how we should expect the closing order book, sir, this year?
I wouldn't say. I can't take a bet on 7,000 crores, but it'll be somewhere in that region, so somewhere between 6 and 7.
Okay. Sir, connecting to the Manish's question earlier, sir, when the decision on whether continuing on setting up the plant or will be taken? Anything you have told during the Manish question?
This is at Cavite plant you're talking about?
Cavite, sir.
Cavite. It's not too long. We in the next few months we will decide.
Okay. Sir, last question, like any new product or new services we are bringing in the EPC side to further grow the business?
We continuously look for new opportunities. So I cannot disclose anything right now, but as was disclosed to the stock exchange, we did sign an agreement for these combustion modification to reduce the NOx content from the gases of these flue gases of coal-based power plants.
Okay.
So this happened maybe 2 months ago.
Okay. So FGD orders, when can we expect next set of FGD orders? Anything we are planning for getting next set of FGD orders?
So, FGD, the state governments have now started coming out with tenders. That's point number 1. And point number 2 is NTPC Lot 6 is also going to be, the submission is next. So we think that the FGD orders now, in the market, there would be a continuous flow.
Okay. Sir, just one last question to Kishore sir. So sequentially, our manufacturing business has increased by around 12% increase is there, but the manufacturing margins have dropped from say 15% to around 10%. Sir. Any particular reason or in wasting something was FOB? Free supplies were there, anything like that, sir?
KPC, I don't know, 15%, which period are you referring to?
Sir, September 20, sir. September 20 quarter, we did 248 crores of manufacturing business, 36 crore of EBIT we did, sir.
Right.
So do you know that one quarter can vary? There could be a lot of aberrations in that. I think you have to see over a longer period of time.
Good, sir. Wonderful, sir. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot, sir. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pritesh Agarwal from Motilal AMC. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Congratulations for the good margin. So, my question is, do you think structurally there is a case for ISGEC going to say 9 or 10% PBIT margin or the core business, that is manufacturing plus EPC business? Because most of the engineering companies with our kind of a capabilities are actually doing such margins.
Yeah, there is, and I've explained earlier also why our margins were low. We were getting into new lines of business and all. There is a case for it, yes, and we're working towards that. Yeah.
Okay, so it should take 2 to 3 years, or we can expect it something else.
Yeah.
Okay. And sir, what we understand, sugar capex is improving in the country with some of the companies going for a large expansion, and even oil and gas orders are for tendering. So how do you see the opportunity pie moving for us now?
So we've got good orders in sugar. We've got good orders in sugar. We've got an order for a very large factory in the south. And we've also got one for a smaller one in the west. So sugar business and distillery business seems to be on a good path.
So do you expect further sugar capex announcements or?
Yeah, there would be some. I'm sure there would be some.
Okay. And sir, on a technical side, globally, if I see, fuel cells are actually posing a risk to captive power businesses. So are they taking to build up capability in fuel cell technologies or hydrogen generation?
Yes, we've looked at it, and I can't disclose to you what it is, but there is something that we are not sitting silent on that. Let me put it that way.
Okay. And sir, lastly, one clarification. When you give an order book breakup, 32% is from power. So is it purely a utility customers, or this will also include captive power which you will be building for, say, a cement or a metal customer?
Yeah, so this includes FGD orders and also includes orders which are for in-house power power consumption.
Okay, so not entirely everything is linked to the utility scale customers, right?
No.
Okay, thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Ankit from Bamboo Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Thanks for the opportunity. Sir, I was looking at the order inflow. Quarter on quarter, we have seen significant improvement in the order book. Q1 was almost like a washout. Q2, we saw some improvement. In Q3, they have done relatively better compared to the past quarter. And, over the 9 months, we have seen order inflow of close to 3,400 crores. Given the current inquiries in hand, how do you think the order inflow will look like for FY22?
It should be good. I personally feel it should be good. I can't put a number to it, but it should be good.
Because, earlier we have seen ISGEC having, pending order book of around 8,000 crores. So, is it possible that...
I don't think we've ever had a order book of 8,000 crores. I think there's something not right.
We did have one year. 2 years ago. But that, as Mr. Puri has been saying many times earlier, orders tend to come in bunches, or there's no steady, even distribution of orders. So it can happen at some point of time, but that is not to be considered as a normal level.
Sure. And sir, on the margin front, you did say that in last call and even in this call that it is possible for us to go back to 9.5-10% PBIT margins. And if I have to look at broadly, our margins on the machine and manufacturing have been quite suppressed, and even EPC has been quite suppressed. EPC largely because we had this legal expenses for the past 2 years. So going forward, do you see that the machine side we can go back to double-digit kind of margin, EPC inching towards 7-8% kind of margins?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, yeah. And what will be the levers for that? What will be the reasons why we'll see such improvement in margins?
So one is obviously efficiency in manufacturing and project execution, and secondly is to go up the technology scale. So I really don't mean I mean going in for places where competition is less. So I think that is one of the key levers to improve profitability. Execution, efficiency, and changing the product portfolio. It may be just a marginal shift in product portfolio, but that will make a difference.
Sure. And sir, lastly on, ISGEC 4-5 years back was largely dependent on private sector, and our we were almost like a negative working capital company if we include the customer advances. And last 3-4 years, primarily because of the Philippines project, as well as we bidding for more PSU and government projects, our working capital has elongated quite a bit. Currently, we have 56% of our orders from private sector and 44% from PSU. Let's say over the next year or two, the private capex picks up significantly. Do you think the shift between private and PSU can tilt more towards private, which can eventually lead to some improvement in our working capital management?
No, it certainly can. It certainly can. Private will certainly lead to an improvement in the working capital situation. But I would also like to say over here that from many of our PSU orders, we are not taking advances because PSU's advances come at a rate of interest which is quite high. So we are deliberately not taking. We could have taken those advances and shown a lower working capital requirement, but we are deliberately not doing that.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mr. Vipin Goyal from ICICI Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sir, on the, as you rightly mentioned earlier, that the FGD execution for FY22 would be 450 crores. So of this 32% order book, what number shall we assume is for the pending FGD orders?
Pending FGD orders as of now are something like 850 crores.
850 crores. So the remaining of this 850 after 450 will be executed by FY23.
That's right. And there are some other orders in process, in line.
Okay. And then, sir, from the upcoming state FGD tenders, so the payment terms, how are they different from the NTPC Lot 6 tenders? For example, in the later tenders, the payment terms were relaxed. So
yeah, so they are more towards the relaxed side.
The state tenders.
The state tenders, yeah.
Okay. Then, sir, on the Philippines plant, last quarter you had commented that some 70% of the work is pending. So
no, completed.
It's completed. Sorry, it's completed. So shall we assume that the remaining that the status is it's same and
yeah, because we're not working over there because of the COVID thing. We're not working over there.
Correct. Sure, sir. And then just last one is bookkeeping question. If you can give the order book breakup for standalone and consolidated for export and domestic.
Kishore, can you come in there?
So give me a second.
What is your question, sir?
The breakup of the order book versus between consolidated and between ISGEC and consolidated. Yeah.
You see, standalone as far as in hand is concerned, the standalone is 6192 and consolidated is 6863 as on 31st December 20.
And of this 6192, what's the mix between projects, products and exports?
Projects is, you see, about 55,300 and the product is 800. 800 crores.
5,500, not 50.
5,300 one is. Okay. And product is 800.
And exports?
Export is about, let me see if I can.
809 crores.
Great,
on
sir.
standalone, the export is 809 crores.
Okay, sir. Thank you. That's it from my side. Thanks.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Manish Goyal from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. On caveat, till date, how much money we have invested in the sense, like we had receivables and LC, which was and cash. So what is the total amount and how much further we have invested? Number one, and number two, in case we start the plant again, we want to complete the pending work. What will be the amount required to be invested and how will it get funded, sir?
Yeah, so these figures, we'll work out. We have the figures. We'll probably give them to you a little later in the call. We'll just give them to you a little later in the call. But we haven't taken a decision to go ahead to complete the plant. So we'll just watch with the improvement in COVID situation what the interest in the plant is, and then we'll take a decision on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at least the number in terms of how much exposure already we have towards caveat.
Yeah, we will give it to you.
That's 254 crores, the same that we've been informing earlier. It continues to be the same 254 crores in rupee terms.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Prashil Shah from CapGrow Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I have a question regarding your Canadian subsidiary Eagle Press. So I was just going through your annual report of Eagle Press of FY20, and I was just wondering what exactly happened that the company had to take a huge write-off on the books.
Which write-off are you?
There is no write-off there.
There's no write-off.
So, or the losses that the company incurred, actually, almost all of the equity got wiped off in FY20, right, in Eagle Press.
So there are two. The point is that we took over the. First of all, I think it's important to understand that when ISJEC bought Eagle, it out of its own resources, it paid very little. It formed an investment company which was later taken over by Eagle. So most of the interest cost of of acquisition of Eagle is being borne by Eagle itself.
Sorry, I didn't get that part. Your voice was breaking.
Kishore, can you just explain that?
Yes, please. So what we did was that the acquisition cost was something like $14.5 million dollars.
Canadian dollars.
Canadian dollars. So we put in $4.5 million as equity, and we put in $10.8 million. We took a loan from a bank. So the interest of that loan, because we had formed a company called ISJEC Canada, and that ISJEC Canada took the loan. Then immediately on acquisition, it amalgamated with Eagle Press. So effectively, the loan got transferred to Eagle Press. So Eagle Press is servicing the loan on its own, using the interest. I mean, it's paying the interest on that loan. The money which we would have spent for acquisition. So Eagle Press is paying interest on that. Secondly, as is required under Ind AS, perhaps also under IFRS, that when you acquire, you put a fair value to assets. So therefore, the depreciation also, we put a fair value, the fair value came out higher, the depreciation is also being charged there. So if you look at the profit after excluding interest and depreciation, most of which are because we bought it through finance and we amalgamated it. Then the situation is not so bad as you're describing.
Also, we were carrying till September this year. We were carrying the load of our management and the Eagle's previous management, because under the terms of the agreement, they were to stay on for 2 years. So after September, that management cost has also gone away. And when you take over a unit overseas, there are a lot of costs which are associated with running it the way you want to run it. It takes time for it to stabilize and make money.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the schedules of the balance sheet, and was wondering, because your interest cost spiked, like almost 3x from FY19. Depreciation increased so much, but there was no major capex, or even the borrowing hadn't increased year on year. So I was just wondering what exactly happened over that.
So that's what he explained to you, why the interest and depreciation increased.
Sorry?
That's what he just explained, why the interest and depreciation spiked.
Even in CPBI, we gave a note last time that we have to have the fair valuation done. So the depreciation has increased also because of that.
No, he's talking about the Eagle, Mr. Khurana.
Okay. No, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Participants, if you have any questions, please enter star and 1. This question is from the line of Deepika Gupta from Equitas Investment. Please go ahead.
So I wanted to know, do we have like a target ROE that we plan to reach?
We have some figures, but we probably tell you at the next conference. Yes, we have some figures, and we want to improve it from our current levels.
Okay. And in the other expenses, I do understand that they've gone down for a variety of reasons, but how much of this is going to come back? How much of our savings are going to come back now and going to hit our P&L?
So, it will play out over a period of time, but we can although, in the country travel is open, we are still seeing a lower level of travel. Okay. We are being able to manage increased, I know this year, so this year if you take Q1 as a write-off in terms of sales, there were obviously sales, but this year, our sales per person are going to be higher than what they were last year. So productivity of manpower has also gone up. Okay. Some part of it will come back, but a lot will not come back. A lot of it will be like a permanent reduction.
Okay. And if you could give us the working capital numbers.
Kishore?
Net working capital is 950 crores.
Okay. And what is the outlook that we have for the railways business? Like our order book in railways business has been continuously rising. So what kind of outlook do we have for FY22 for the railways business?
So we think that there are going to be investments. So what we are doing for the railways basically is building factories for them, which includes sheds and in many cases machinery, heavy complicated machinery, okay. Which we outsource and sort of set up the plant for them. Mm-hmm. So we both KOFMO, RITES, RVNL do have plans to set up many more factories, and we hope that we can build, win some of those tenders. So the outlook for the railways seems to be good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. As there are no further questions, I would now like to hand the conference over to management for closing comments.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for coming, for participating in this investor conference. And we look forward to talking to you again soon. And stay safe till then. Thank you.
Thank you
very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On behalf of ICICI Securities Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.
Thank you.